Hello, my name is John Soule, and I'm a physics professor at Weber State University. This video is part of a series of videos on how to have an excellent science fair project. One of the biggest problems in getting a good science fair project going is how to select an advisor, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Fact is, there are people who know a lot more than you do, and those people are often really willing to help you out. And this is great. You want to take advantage of that, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Several things to keep in mind. You can have more than one advisor, so just because you've got one advisor or mentor doesn't mean you have to stop there. This person, however, should be a professional in their field, and they should know an awful lot about what they're talking about so that they can help you out the best that they can. It is also okay for your parents to be your advisor or someone in your extended family, an aunt or an uncle, who might be an expert in the field as well. All of these people can be valuable to you, and you should take advantage of every resource you have. What's the difference between an advisor and a mentor? Well, an advisor advises. They'll answer questions and give you general direction. However, really important and really valuable is a mentor. A mentor actually helps. They stick out a helping hand and will invite you to their laboratory. They'll teach you how to do welding or whatever it is that your project happens to need, and will be a person that you can rely on for a lot more detailed information and ongoing assistance in your project. Of course, it's important to realize that it has to still be your project and that they are only being a mentor, not a doer. You have to be the one that is doing the project, not them. All right, how do you find these people? Well, for starters, check with your own family, because there's a pretty good chance that if you're smart, they're probably smart too. So you can check with your mom and dad, you can check with a grandma and grandpa, you can check with an aunt, with an uncle. These people may have a lot of experiences and skills that can be an asset to you. There's also your teachers at school. Guess what? Your teachers are not just simply professionals when it comes to teaching. They actually know what they're teaching. So they're a good resource to look for. A little harder to break into unless you have an in is finding researchers and engineers and scientists at universities, at local companies, in government agencies and laboratories. Those people are also available to you, but can be a little bit harder to find. In today's modern age with Zoom meetings and stuff like that, you can also use distant experts. You can email or meet face-to-face electronically with people on the other side of the planet. One place to meet these people are as the authors of papers that you did research on. Wondering about how to do research? Take a look at some of our earlier videos because we talk about how to read a scientific paper. You can contact those authors and they will often give you suggestions or assign you to a graduate student or something who can flat out give you a lot of help. The other thing you also want to do is talk with a lot of people. Turns out that talking with a lot of people will often result in suggestions as to someone that they might know who can give you ideas about where to proceed for getting more assistance. In fact, most science fair projects that do really well have an adult mentor involved. It's just the way that is, because that student will almost certainly learn far more than if they're just working completely on their own. Now, the best thing is to find somebody close at hand, because they're just easier to work with, and they'll have more buy-in because you're part of the local group. That said, it doesn't have to be local. You do need to realize that every person that you're going to be talking to is almost certainly overworked. Nobody has lots and lots of spare time. You are going to be an extra workload. That's okay. What that means is that this person is willing to take on the extra work and give you a hand. But also realize that because they don't respond isn't because you're not of any value, isn't because your project isn't of any value. They just simply don't have time. Jack Andraka is an amazing student. He won the highest prize at the International Science and Engineering Fair. He had to ask 199 people and laboratories before one of them accepted him. 199. Finally, someone accepted him, took him in under their wing. He did a great job with his own ideas, but with their assistance, and he won the $50,000 Gordon Moore Award at the International Science and Engineering Fair, at that time the top award in all of science fair. What if these people aren't available? So someone says, well, yeah, thank you for contacting me, but I just don't have time. That's okay. Ask them, do you know someone who does? Do you have an assistant that might be able to help me? Ask them for suggestions. The worst that'll happen is they'll just ignore your email. So I would just go ahead and move forward anyway. To find someone at Weber State University, if you're part of the Ritchey Science and Engineering Fair, you should send an email to sciencefair@weber.edu. Of course, that's right there, sciencefair@weber.edu. Success. Someone has said, sure, come to my office, come to my laboratory, let's talk and see what's up. This is really, really great. And you want to make sure that you take advantage of this and don't lose that opportunity. So, first impressions are absolutely important and critical. Make sure that you arrive on time, knowledgeably, dressed professionally, and talk with them professionally. Specifically, what does that mean? That means you need to read a lot before you go to see them. All of this reading is going to help build your background so that you can more intelligently talk to them, and when they give you information, you'll be able to understand it better. So make sure you read about stuff in the field that you're interested in and that they have offered to help you with. Make sure you are on time. If it is an electronic meeting by Zoom or some other method, arrive a few minutes early so that when they log in, you're already there. If it is a face-to-face meeting, in that situation, make sure you get to the building, the address, well in advance, at least 15 minutes, so that you can find their office, find their laboratory. If it's a university campus, those can be confusing to wander around in. If it's a large industrial facility, finding the right place can be a challenge. Make sure you arrive with time to spare. You can always just sit and look at your phone or something while you're waiting for them, but make sure you're there on time. Now, when you start to talk to them, speak clearly. Talk to them. Don't talk to your shoes. Talk to the person that is there. They have cleared a space in their schedule for you, so talk with them. And make sure you address them by whatever appropriate title there is. Whether that is Dr., Ms., Mr., they will tell you what they prefer to be called. If they want you to use their first name, they will tell you. Otherwise, make sure you talk to them with their title. Always be on time. If it is a meeting that is electronic, like by Zoom, make sure you log in a few minutes early so that when they log in, you are already there. If you're going to their laboratory or if you're going to their office, if it's at a university or an industrial lab, that can be a pretty confusing place to find somebody if you're not familiar with it. So make sure you allow yourself enough time that you can get there early. The very worst that will happen is you'll get there with plenty of time to spare and you can just sit in the chair waiting while we're looking at your phone. So don't worry about arriving too early. You do not want to be late. This person has cleared a spot in their day for you and they expect you to be there on time. That's the way professionals behave. Also, make sure you refer to them with their title and their last name. If they prefer a nickname or a first name, they will tell you that. Now you're at the meeting. You need to make sure that they are going to be working with you and want to continue to work with you. For starters, always make sure you bring your notebook with you because you're going to want to take notes about what they're saying and what they tell you to do and look up. When you don't understand something, tell them. It's very frustrating as a mentor to be working with somebody and you're looking at their face, you're saying something to them and they clearly don't understand it, but they're not telling you that they don't understand it. Very, very frustrating. Please be willing to say, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Can you please say that again? They'll be happy to. They have cleared time for you. They want that time to be effective. When you talk to them and when you send them emails, use good English and good grammar. In emails, make sure you use a spelling checker and you verify it. And when they give you an idea, make sure you read what they told you to read and learn about what they're telling you that they want you to know about. Finally, make sure that you are reliable. When they tell you to do something by a certain time, make sure you do it by that time and follow through with everything they said. If they said to do all of these steps, don't do just half of them. Do all of the steps, not just a few of them. Okay, so the fair is over. You've won. Maybe you didn't win. Maybe you won the top prize. Maybe you didn't win the top prize. It doesn't matter. The fact is you have learned a lot. That information that you learned came in large part from your advisor or mentor. Make sure you send them a little note. Don't be very long, just something as a paragraph or two, telling them what the outcome was and how valuable the experience was for you. This person may be useful for you in the future as a person that would write a letter of recommendation or as a person who might be able to answer questions you have at some future date. And some student that follows you a year or two later may also want to get some help from this person, and you want to make sure that they had a good experience as well. There are a few more tips I would like to give you. If you're having troubles finding a mentor, or if you have questions you would like a quick or a different answer to, you can try various online resources. ScienceBuddies.org has 2 great systems in place. One of those is a system that allows you to find a STEM mentor. You can go to Science Buddies and look that up, and you will find that they have people who have volunteered to be able to help science fair students out. They also have Ask an Expert. Ask an Expert is a way that you can post a question, and people who have volunteered to review these posts and answer them will see your question, and if they can answer it, they will, or they might find somebody else that could possibly answer it for you. So those are all excellent resources. The International Science and Engineering Fair is hosted by the Science for Society and the Public. Their website has great information in it as well. Finally, if you are a student that is part of the Ritchey Science and Engineering Fair that is hosted by Weber State University, you can also send an email to sciencefair@weber.edu, and we will do our best to assist you. I hope you've gotten a lot of value out of these videos, and whatever you do, good luck to you. Best of luck with your science fair project and any kind of science and engineering that you do.